Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to another episode of Zaling Fashion. My name is Aderinde Kabirat. Today, I'm going to be teaching you how to draft your basic bodies. If you are new here, please don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, and share. And without further ado, let's dive into the video. First of all, make sure your paper is on fold. Before you start drafting any piece of fabric, make sure it's on fold. So now I'm going to be determining the largest circumference of my body measurements. For in my case, it is my hips, which is 32 divided by 4, 8 inches, and I marked 10 inches, which is more than enough. So from the edge of the paper, I'm just going to go down by half inches, which is start as my starting point. Is just to give us a smooth edge and also for our allowance. I'm just going to go ahead to connect it with a straight ruler. So after connecting together, so we are just going to go ahead to take our body measurements. So now I'm going to go ahead to measure my shoulder measurement. My shoulder measurement is 14 divided by 2, that's 7 inches. So I'm going to mark 7 inches. Also, I'm going to mark 3 inches for my neckline, which is the standard measurement for neckline. So from the point we marked for our shoulder, we are going to come down by 1 inches, then connect it to the neckline. So the next thing we are going to be determining is our armhole measurement. So what you're going to do is your bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5. So in my case, it is 7.5. I did 34 divided by 6 plus 1.5. So I'm marking 7.5. So I'm just going to draw a straight line, which will serve as my bust line. So on my bust line, I'm going ahead to mark 7 inches, which I marked for the shoulder, just to give me a straight line. That's the point. It doesn't really matter. If you know your hand is going to be straight, you can just connect the lines together. But for me, I just marked 7 inches on the bust line to connect it to the shoulder. So this is our shoulder line, and this is our bust line. The next measurement to be taken is our half length, which is our shoulder to the waist. So I'm just going to mark 15 inches, then draw a straight line. The next measurement I'll be taking is my top length, wherever you want your top to get to. For me, it's 21 inches. So I'm just going to go ahead to mark 21 inches, then draw a straight line. So now that you are done taking the horizontal measurement, we are going to go ahead to take our vertical measurements. The first measurement is our bust, 30 divided by 4, that will give it 7.5. Our waist measurement is 22 inches divided by 4, that's 5.5, plus 1 inches for that, that's 6.5. That was why I marked 6.5. So for our hips measurement, it's 32 inches divided by 4, that's going to give us 8 inches. So now we are just going to go ahead to connect the lines, the bust to the waist, then to the hips, like so. So for our armhole, what we are going to do is we are going to determine the midpoint of this line, which is from our shoulder to our bust. So I have 7.5 inches, so divided by 2, that's 3.75, which is the midpoint. So I'm just going to mark that point. Next thing I'll be doing is I'm going to go in by 3/4 inches or 0.75 inches for the front. Mind you, we are drafting our front and back together because I'm going to be using this front piece to draft the back piece. I'm going to go ahead to connect our front curve like so. I'm going to use my armhole curve to connect it together like so. So now I'm going to go ahead to connect my back armhole. Like I said, I'm drafting the front and back together because I'll be using this front for the back also. So I'm done drafting the armhole for the front and for the back. So now I'm going to go ahead to draft the kind of neckline I want. For this project, I'm just going to be using a round neckline. It all depends on your preference. So I'm just going ahead to use 3.5. So I'm just going to extend that 3 inches line by adding half inches, then use my curve. So 3.5 by 3.5, then curve it like so. Also for the back, because I'm drafting the back and front together, like I said, I'm going to go down by 1 inches, then use my curve ruler to curve it like so. So for our darts, what you need to do is you're going to place your tape from one nipple to the other nipple. In my case, it is 8 inches. So 8 divided by 2, that's 4 inches. That was why I marked 4 inches on the waistline. I'm going to mark it on the bust line, and I'm going to mark it on the hips line. So I'll be able to connect it to give me a straight line like so. So the next thing we are going to be doing is we are going to determine our shoulder to nipple measurement. Place your tape from your shoulder to your nipple. In my case, it is 10 inches. So I'm just going to mark 10 inches, and after marking 10 inches, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. So I'm going to mark 11 inches. So I'll be connecting from the 11 inches. If yours is 11, you're going to mark 12 inches because you're coming down by 1 inches. I hope you get what I'm saying. So from the hips measurement, you're going to come up by 1 inches, and on our waist we are going to mark half inches on both sides. Then you're going to go ahead to connect your lines like so. Make sure you're starting from the 11 inches point, not the 10 inches. Come down 1 inches from your bust point. For the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'm marking my sewing allowance. I took 1 inches on the bust line, 1 inches on the waistline, and 1 inches on the hips line. Also, I'm going to take 1 inches for the hemming. Then I'm just going to go ahead to connect the lines together. So now I'm done connecting our lines together. 1 inches on the hemming line, on the waist, on the bust, and on the hips. So for the neckline, I'm just going to go ahead to mark half inches allowance on the neckline and half inches allowance on the shoulder and on the armhole. So I'm connecting my allowances. I connected my shoulder. I added half inches on the neckline, on the shoulder, and on the armhole. So now I'm just going ahead to mark my half inches allowance for the front pattern. Don't forget, the first one I did earlier was for the back, but for now this is for the front because I'm drafting the front and the back on the same pattern. Don't worry, you're going to understand what I'm doing as time goes on. I'll be using this front to cut out my back. That was why I drafted it on the same pattern. Make sure you are cutting it out with your sewing allowance. So I'm just going to cut it out like so. Make sure you're cutting out the back neckline. So I'm just going to go ahead to cut out the back neckline and the shoulder. So that's all for now. So the next thing we are going to be doing is we are going to take another pattern paper to draft our back. Then we can come back to modify this pattern. So this is our fresh pattern paper. Make sure it is on fold. So for the back, we need 1 inches sewing allowance. So just mark 1 inches all through, then draw a straight line. So connect your lines like so. Since now, so what we are going to do now is we are going to place that pattern paper on our fresh paper, then pin it down. Make sure you're pinning it down on that line. So now I'm done pinning it down. So the next thing I'm going to be doing, I'm going to cut it out. So I'm cutting out the back pattern. Now I'm just going to follow this pattern as I'm cutting. Make sure you cut well. So I transferred my measurements to the back pattern. So this is my bust line. I transferred my bust line, I transferred my waistline, and I transferred my hips line. Sorry, I lost some footage. Well, all what I did was I just determined my 4 inches. That make sure you place your tape from the line you drew and mark 4 inches, then add 5 inches on both sides, and from the bust line you come down by 1 inches, and from the hips line you come up by 1 inches, then connect like so. Don't forget, there's just a little modification for the front bodies. We came down 1 inches from the bust point, which is your shoulder to nipple, but for the back we just came down from the bust line. So to erase any kind of zip budges, you're going to come in by 1 inches from your waistline, then you're going to connect it to your bust line and to your hips line. So now we are done with the back bodies, so we are going to go ahead to modify the front bodies. So we are going to be cutting, first of all, before doing that, I'm just going to go ahead to mark half inches from my armhole, which is for the front. Don't forget, I only marked half inches from my back armhole, but for now I'm going to mark half inches from my front armhole. So I'm just going to go ahead to connect it like so. So now that I'm done connecting it, I'm just going to go ahead to cut it out. Don't forget, this is our front neckline. So I'm just going to following the same pattern, and also after cutting the neckline I'm going to go ahead to cut out the armhole that I marked. So like so. So this is what it looks like. So if you enjoyed watching this video, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like, comment and share. See you in my next video. Bye.